we had the Baltimore Ravens beating the Buccaneers 41-31. Kaz, I know this game got gruesome late. We saw stars go down left and right. What were your thoughts coming out of this game?
Well, first off, we'll talk about the stars that went down. I feel bad for the Bucs. On previous episodes of Stats Over Politics, I've given Baker his flowers. I'm like, I like him. He's a football guy. He's playing well. The team's rallying behind him. And then this happens. And it's just like, it's one thing to lose your number one wide receiver. It's another to lose both, especially in the way they did. We're not even sure that Mike Evans is going to come back in a timely manner. They're saying, possibly after week 11, but that's not guaranteed. And I'm saying that as a personal trainer, hamstring injuries are no joke. It's not as simple as 3 weeks off and you're good to go. You might be well in 3 weeks, but to re-aggravate it, it doesn't take much to re-aggravate it unless you're 100%. And this comes from someone who has torn their hamstring. So I'm here to tell you that when I saw that play, Mike Evans going down, I tweeted, I go, that's a hamstring tear. We'll see if they're hiding things and, not telling us everything that we need to know. And they're saying, oh, it's just a strain, which for most people who don't know, strains, there's levels of strains that eventually turn into tears. It's just a stretching of the muscles. And after you stretch the muscle so far, we know what happens. It tears. But there's levels to the tear. There's a slight tear. There's a large tear. There's a complete tear. Just because it's not a complete tear doesn't mean that it's not going to take a long time for them to recover. So I'm just saying, you can be optimistic all you want about Mike Evans coming back. I think it said, again, like projected to come back maybe week 11 after the bye week or whatever. Maybe that's when their bye week is, or that's after the bye week. I'm not sure. But I kept seeing headlines of week 11, I believe. That's about a month. We'll see. Chris Godwin, that sucks. And now they left Baker out there high and dry, and Baker Mayfield might turn into the Baker that has been doubted in previous years because he hasn't had the freaking help. I mean, he's had guys, but he's not
Mike Evans.
Yeah. Oh, and a Chris Godwin. You know what I'm saying? And in a very well, coached team. Like the Bucs are very well coached. I mean, they're Super Bowl champions just a couple years back. So it's like this isn't like this is just a nobody team that ain't nothing.
It's not the Browns.
And they beat the Eagles last year. And you know what I'm saying? So
and this year.
Yeah, and this year twice. You know what I'm saying? This is clearly see, I even forgot about that already. This is clearly a good team, and now they lost two guys that have made that has helped make Baker Mayfield one of the candidates for MVP early on in the season. So that's just unfortunate. As for the turnout for the game, I mean, obviously Lamar Jackson, dude, I said it like when they got Derrick Henry. I said,
Derrick Henry?
Yeah, I think I did my own little podcast. I can't remember, but I said there is no dive deep into this take. They're going to dominate. Like there's this doesn't need to be analyzed and observed. And well, what about this offensive line, backups, injury prone? No. It's overkill. It's overkill, and we're seeing it firsthand. The fact that it took the Bucs losing these two guys, I understand Chris Godwin late. Mike Evans should have caught that touchdown, but again, he pulled his hamstring as he was catching it. That obviously affected it. That game could have been just as close as it was. Was it 10-point? Yeah, 10-point game. So a 10-point loss to the Ravens, who again kind of like took off at the very end there when the Bucs were kind of making a surge back. The Bucs just need to score one more touchdown, if I'm not mistaken, early in the fourth, which they had an opportunity to, and just unfortunate series of incidents. So the Bucs still are a really good team. It's just going to be unfortunate if they can't produce without these guys because they're going to have to. The Ravens were the better team. The Ravens should have won the game. I did pick the Ravens to win that game, but I would not have been. No, I picked the Bucs to win that game, but I would not be surprised if the Ravens would have lost the game if they would have kept Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. So the Ravens won by 10. They again are the better team, but the Bucs were rallying back. I felt it. So just an unfortunate game. I think this game was a big loss for football fans. The better team won, but we lost the potential to see some good Buccaneers football moving forward.
100%. And I know Mike Evans and Chris Godwin was this offense. I know they had a lot to do with this offense. This offense still has a lot of potential. They still have Rashad White. We saw Shaun Tucker come out and go crazy. You have Bucky Irving. And then I know we all saw the wide receiver screens 3-4 times. Kate Otten is a huge part of this offense.
Yeah.
So are they going to hurt? Yes. Is this going to be detrimental? Yes. They still have a great O-line. They're going to be able to figure things out. I know that this, like Kaz mentioned, this team has Super Bowl DNA. They've done it a couple years ago. They're not that far removed. They still have some guys in that team that were there. They still have the coaching staff. They still have a lot of the guys. I know the head coach retired, but they just promoted a coach that was on the staff already. This Buccaneers team, like Cass said, has been showing a lot of good football. When Baker Mayfield got there, he has been rejuvenated his career. If you watch this podcast all last football season, Baker Mayfield, we talked about Baker Mayfield all the time. So I'm going to really be interested to see what this says, but we have a comment that I really want to get to. You're giving Tampa Bay excuses. Bro, come on. Don't do that. Lamar Jackson went over there and got 5 touchdowns and went home. 100%.
He did, but okay, he did, but the Ravens look like, first off, Lamar looks like the MVP for sure.
About to get to.
And the Ravens are a better team than the Buccaneers. So it's not like he just showed up, dropped 5 tutties, and they washed them. It's not that. If you think that we were watching 2 different games, it wasn't like that. It kind of reminded me of the Detroit-Seattle game where it's like Detroit won by, I think it was like by 10, 11 points, something like that. But they weren't watching the fact that, like, dude, there's drops, there's DK Metcalf who scored a touchdown that got taken back. Like they completely missed a touchdown to DK Metcalf. After reviewing it, or after their instant replay, it showed that he had both feet in and possession, but they didn't count as a touchdown. These things do factor into these 10-point victories. That's all I'm saying. So again, you're right. I am giving the Buccaneers a little bit of leeway because they're playing against a Super Bowl caliber team. Would you say the Buccaneers are a Super Bowl caliber team? I personally wouldn't say they're a Super Bowl caliber team. I think they're a playoff team, but to compare them to the Ravens is crazy. And the Ravens could have beat them by 20 just as bad as they beat them by 10 points. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
and they did.
But I know fantasy lovers love this game. Mark Andrews, back-to-back games with a touchdown. The rebirth of the tight ends, but Lamar Jackson is Lamar Jackson. When you think 5 touchdowns, you would have thought he threw the ball 32, 40 times. 22 times. He was 17 for 22 for 281 yards. He's not out there slinging the ball. The game is real simple. Now you have Derrick Henry, so get your hand under the center. Derrick Henry's 8 yards back. You hand it off. And then you see Lamar sprint down the field to block for him. This team is arguably one of the scariest running back quarterback duos ever. I know there's been a lot of great quarterback running back duos, but you have to put them in the mix. They haven't done anything yet, but through 7 weeks, Derrick Henry is on pace for 2,200 yards, and Lamar Jackson is on pace to get his second MVP in back-to-back years. Gotta give him their credit. Rashad Bateman, what the hell? Coming up, making plays when he needs to make plays. Lamar Jackson doesn't lose. And like my man Hassan says, Lamar Jackson is 23-1 against the NFC.
That is nuts.
And that's crazy because he's letting them know, man, I'm going to handle business. Lamar Jackson doesn't really lose much. When you see the quarterbacks in his division, the Joe Burrows, the Shaun Watson before he got hurt, there's a lot of guys in there. So for Lamar Jackson to stand out and with that company, and of course, everyone's going to lose to Patrick Mahomes eventually, And when you lose to Patrick Mahomes, to the world is like, all right, you're right there. It's just Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. You're right there. There's been plenty of teams that are right there, and the Chiefs just continue to make play after play after play. So the Chiefs, can the Ravens now with Derrick Henry contend? I don't know. It depends on the Marlon Humphrey injury because he has been making plays this season. I have the Ravens defense, so he has been making play after play. Kyle Hamilton is one of the best safeties in the game. So the Ravens have a lot to look forward to, but